That recommendation has been put to one side. So the struggle continues. Now, the World Commission on Dams reported, I think, in about 2002. And it was very shortly after that I met Ali. Ali got in touch with me, I think, through the International Rivers Network. I think it was yes. Right, yeah. And we met in, I remember it well, we met in the festival hall. And Ali came along with a pile of documents all about the Merowe Dam. And I expressed my solidarity and explained that, the group that I work with, and I now work with a very small solidarity and research group. We only work with communities that are directly affected. We just don't work on dams in the abstract. We work where we've been asked to work. And Ali invited me to visit Sudan and to visit the affected area. And I went with a colleague from International Rivers, Peter Bossard, in 2005. Now, I've been to a lot of dams. I've visited, as I say, a lot of affected communities. And I also knew that by this time, the World Commission on Dams had happened. The World Bank had developed standards. What I saw with the Merowe Dam profoundly shocked me. This was one of the worst planned dam projects I have ever seen. This was a project in which 2 years after the whole thing had been initiated, the environmental impact assessment had still not even been made public. This was a project which didn't have a resettlement plan. It's absolutely fundamental. The minimum international standard is that there should be a resettlement plan drawn up in conjunction with affected people. There was no plan. I went with some Sudanese colleagues to El Muqtada with Peter Bossard. I've been to resettlement sites. This was one of the worst. The people have been promised electricity. They've been promised healthcare. They've been promised land. They've been promised water for their land. Most of that was not forthcoming. I saw plots in the desert where truckloads of sand had to be scooped off before you could even begin to grow crops. People told me that in most cases, you were talking about 19 truckloads taking off land for a simple family area of land, of soil to cultivate. The actual soil was of such poor quality that people couldn't grow the sorts of crops that would earn them a livelihood. People were on food aid. Women who previously, in the villages where they'd been living, with their homes, had plots which they could grow vegetables on, that they could sell to have their own independent source of income, no longer had that option. The gender implications were profound. The houses, they looked smart enough, but they were all absolutely uniform. This was like being in a prison camp. And I'm not surprised that years down the line, people have walked away from those sites. And I'm not surprised, and I support, the decision of the Manasir to refuse to leave their land. This was a very brave decision. It's almost unique. There are not many, I don't know of other examples actually, where people of a dam of this size have refused to leave and have self-resettled around the reservoir edge. And why were they right? Because in essence, Meroa Dam was not about producing electricity, it was a land grab. That land would have been taken and developed for agriculture, probably by Arab investors. It was a land grab. Now, what could we do in Europe? Ali and I discussed this at length. And we had campaigns from 2005 onwards, earlier actually, to try and put pressure on the funders of the dam before it was actually built. Ali and I and Fatima, I think, was there as well. We did a very small demonstration outside one of the Arab embassies. Was it the Kuwait? It was Kuwait embassy, because Kuwait investment fund was putting in money. Colleagues in International Rivers and ourselves wrote to institutions like the China Exim Bank, trying to publicize what was happening in Sudan, publicizing the human rights abuses, the shootings. We failed to stop the funding. In other cases, it's worked. There have been dams that I've been involved in fighting with the communities where the funding has been stopped. So the next stage was, okay, how do you hold those who have perpetrated these crimes on the community to account? And we gave some assistance with Ali to the communities to bring a complaint against the UN rapporteur, to the UN rapporteur on adequate housing, to ask him to look into the deliberate flooding of 20,000 people out of their homes at Meroa. And as you'll know, he produced a very strong report, and he said in the report that the company